The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Great to have you in Hail Varsity Radio Road Show today, Friday at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. We invite you out. Wear your blue if you're partial to Creighton. You can always wear red here at the Hail Varsity Club because Husker Baseball is up in action. Man, my wife just walked into the bar and she's already demanding. I'm kidding. She's fun. Elijah, good to see you, man. Big weekend, big sports weekend. Of course, Creighton in action tonight. We'll check in with former Jay standout Jimmy Motz, get his take on the ball game tonight. Recruiting is so key this weekend ahead of the spring game, and Nebraska has a monster list of visitors. We will detail all of that. Bill Doleman, the pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports, going to join us. Brady Oltmans also going to check in and give us a recruiting rundown. Numbers to get in today. Hail Varsity on the road at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista, not far from Costco, just a punt away from Cabela's. If you're on your way in the metro, stop on by. We're here till 6. Live music follows us. And then, of course, the mother of all Jay's watch parties, you're invited in. But numbers to dial up, 489-1240, 489-1240, or 800-825-5865. You're thirsty. I know you're thirsty. Happy hour is happening now till 6. $8 signature cocktails, premium mules. I can't do a donkey call, otherwise I would. Appetizers, the Gouda mac and cheese bites, crispy sweet corn nuggets, cheese curds with a little garlic, $4 well cocktails, house wines. Do you like wine? Do you know somebody who loves wine? Probably. Also the onion rings, fried pickles, mozzarella sticks, beer specials, $2 off cans and bottles. That is a yes for me. Get down here to the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. Get your spot like you're boxing out in the paint. Plenty of Sweet 16 to get into. But Elijah, it is a recruiting weekend. It is all about the Raiola effect. He is going to be a center of attention, but also some of his mates that like, hey, Dylan, what do you think of Nebraska? Well, it's pretty cool. Hey, do you think I should check out Nebraska? This is all hypothetical, of course. Well, sure, come on down to Nebraska. Coach Rule and the crew would love to have you. My Uncle Donnie, he may look like he might break you in half, but he's going to put pretty good linemen together. This is what's going on. 4 5-stars in town for Nebraska, 12 4-stars, and we're talking 26 plus, more, maybe a little less than 40 when it comes to kids checking out Nebraska for a month. You know, quite honestly, as big a showcase as some of the previous Friday Night Lights, when you think of Micah Parsons and some of the talent was on hand there, you put visit to pen to paper in December and you get some of these kids. It's the best class you'll have potentially since the 05 class, and I think that might have been Sue and Marlon Lucky, just to name drop a couple of those guys. But you have Dylan Raiola, the number 1 overall player in the country. You have Ryan Wingo, the number 4 wide receiver. He's a 5-star. Williams Nawari, number 1 defensive lineman. And apparently the kid's 300 pounds out of Lee Summit and can move laterally like he's on skates. Good skating, of course. He's
not
another
you skating?
not me skating. not me at the roller skate rink in 3rd grade. With bruises all over my elbows and knees. Brandon Baker, the number 1 offensive tackle in the country. He is out of California, 4-star. Jaden Riddell, the tight end, number 4 tight end of the country. Ryan Pelham, the number 9 wide receiver. Nathan Frazier, the top 10 running back in the country. So I have dropped from 5-star prospects to now 4-star prospects. Jacob and Jared Smith, 2 twins, a defensive end, a defensive lineman. It is really impressive for Nebraska. And a lot of these guys, man, want to kind of gauge which way's the wind blowing for a Dylan Raiola. The theme this week has been sway, right? What is going to sway the number 1 player in the country to Nebraska? And beyond family, it's that family atmosphere. We have blood here. Can Nebraska continue to compete, showcase, show their vision, and then put a little bit together come fall with what is potential? All right, year 1 is what, ... What could year 2, year 3, and beyond be? And I think you've got a good construction process going on with Husker football here with Coach Rule. And this is important. And Rule laid it out. Sauterfield laid it out. Listen, we may not be for you. What was the glorious tourism slogan? Nebraska, not for everybody. And Matt Rule practices may not be for everybody. And you're going to get a chance to see that. You're going to have to experience that. Man, these guys go hard. Man, there's 3 stations of practice to develop. That's all important, well and good. And it's just appetizing if you're a Nebraska fan to think about what can happen if you get high-level talent with high-level coaching and development, and all of a sudden you become Alabama. Right, that's what Nebraska did for decades under T.O. and company. So, big recruiting weekend. That's the arm wrestling match. Elijah, is Raiola a essential to all of the rest of this? And it would help. It would help, but I think Nebraska is going to be able to do well. They'll find their fits and move on. They'll find their fits from the system standpoint. They'll find their fits from the mentality standpoint. All the better if these fits are high-level talents as well. Can email the show, chris@hailvarsity.com. Ways to watch. We are on, I don't know if we're on camera. Yeah, we got a lot of acting I got to work on. We're on camera here at the Hail Varsity Club, so you can watch and listen to the show. Creighton tipping off later this evening, so get here for your Sweet 16 needs. Watch the show with the Hail Varsity Twitter handle at HVarsity Radio. We're broadcasting here on the stage where Damon and Andrew do coffee and cream every morning, which is really cool. And then the Hail Varsity YouTube channel you can watch that way. KFOR Facebook and Twitter stream as well.
So I get to the phone line, Schmitty, where F-Bomb Brian's been patiently waiting.
F-Bomb Brian, it's been a long time. We have a delay just for you, my friend. Welcome to it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, man. I'm busy.
It was necessary. Go for it.
Well, 2 things. I would shove over many small children for a Bloody Mary right now.
Come on now.
I would go Will Ferrell in Old School when he gets tranquilized. Just
right. You need a Bloody Mary, and I can have him make you one here at the Hail Varsity Club.
After a couple of Bloody Marys, you can go Frank the Tank, too.
I do go Frank the Tank. But I had a Bloody Mary at a business, at a rail yard restaurant recently, and it was just flavorless.
Not here at the Hail Varsity Club. You do not need to get your hands on a trank gun at this moment, is what I'm telling you, Brian.
Okay, it does feel different with Matt Rule than it did with Scott Frost. I will admit that. I feel like an abused spouse right now, and I can't. I'm going to wait till game 1 to be on the bandwagon.
You got to see it to believe it, F-Bomb Brian. Thanks for the phone call. Appreciate your listenership, bud. Listen, the heart, the head, both those things have tugged at you for how long? A decade if you're a Nebraska fan. Your heart wins. Your heart wants to believe. Your head's like, this ain't going to happen. This guy ain't it. This next guy ain't it. Can this new guy be it? I don't know. Hey, Rule does feel and seem different, Proof will be on the field. And Elijah, there's hesitation, brother. There is. I mean, people love Rule, love his staff, love his attitude, and believe it can work. But the guy that was supposed to get it done, it just unfortunately didn't work out for the homegrown quarterback champion.
And I understand the trepidation surrounding Matt Rule and his appointment, and even like a recruiting weekend like this, you look at all the high-caliber guys and you say, well, look at the high-caliber guys that have come in over the past decade. Thomas Fidone, Wandale Robinson, Tyjon Lindsey, Tristan Gebbia, like all these guys that did not pan out in Nebraska. I can see why you look at a recruiting weekend like this and go, well, let's wait for these guys to first commit and then show up on campus and then put in 2 years of development and then let's see how they are. We don't need to worry about this right now. But the difference between right now and the past 5 years, the past 10 years even, is the fact that Matt Rule has shown early in his tenure, winter conditioning and spring football, that he's going to hold these guys to a high standard. Whether you're coming in as a 3-star, whether you're coming in as a walk-on, whether you're coming in as a 5-star, it's the exact same level of play standard that is needed for you to be able to contribute at this program. And if you hold everyone to the same standard, you're likely not going to get those issues in development where you go, why did this 3-star dude develop better than the 5-star dude? Now the 5-star dude's sitting third on the depth chart. It doesn't become an issue whenever all the guys are held to the same standard, because the old adage goes, talent beats hard work when hard work fails to work. Hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. But there's an amendment that my old football coaches used to say, which I can't say verbatim, but it was, but when talent works hard, you're effed. That was essentially how it goes. So if you can get all these high-talent guys to work as much as the guys that are working hard to see the field, you're not going to have that issue. And that's what Matt Rule's trying to instill with the culture, is that there's a standard you have to reach, whether you're a 2-star, whether you're a 5-star, whether you're a future first-round pick, or whether you're a future insurance agent. It doesn't matter. You have to reach the same standard if you want to be at Nebraska.
And it's the same rules. This is not Bill Parcells gathering the New York Giants after watching 3 days of Lawrence Taylor. All right? Taylor may have 3 friendly gals visit his room sent to him by the opposing team. There may be choices involved that can make your heart explode. We'll just let you interpret that. And he'll still go out the next Sunday and get 4 sacks. Okay? And I'm going to treat everybody the same, which means Lawrence Taylor gets to do what he wants because he's Lawrence Taylor and he's a game wrecker, man. So you can't have too much of that going on. And don't kid yourself. You've had different strokes for different folks with some high-level kids, i.e., let's be honest, Ndamukong Suh was coached hard and held to a Pelini level of standard because those guys didn't jack around with letting someone slough off. But if I don't know that this happened, but let's just say there was a fight in the locker room, shocking, with Ndamukong Suh, and if Ndamukong Suh carved up a backup offensive lineman, Ndamukong Suh wasn't going to have to apologize to the team. It was the backup offensive lineman. Yeah, I'm sorry I caused a fight, guys. That happened. I'll leave the backup offensive lineman's name to be anonymous. But, yeah, so there's always going to be a little bit different set of rules. But for the most part, this is what you got to do. This is how we're going to do it. This is in from Brian in the stream, and can watch the show Hail Varsity YouTube channel. We're here at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. We invite you out. Get here for the Creighton watch party, live music, happy hour till 6 if you're thirsty and you need some just incredible appetizers. There is so much here on the Hail Varsity Club menu that you're going to love. Brian was asking if everybody's streaking. That's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Mazuka. He's a kid that Nebraska was really interested in when it comes to the portal. Hey, Elijah, there's stuff going awry down in Gainesville. Let's talk about Micah Mazuka.
This is interesting.
That's on the radar here with Nebraska. The reality is this. You have, 15 offensive linemen in camp right now. You have 10 scholarship offensive linemen. Uber low numbers. Searles hit on it yesterday. You need to find some guys here post-spring to bring in on the offensive line. Not that you don't have talent or good people or are going to work with, you find your best 5 or 7, you get a couple of swing guys. But you need more. You need more than 14 or 15 offensive linemen.
And what's interesting with Mazuka is, if you remember, Nebraska ended up in the top 3 of his transfer portal decision. He ends up going down to Florida, and then he tweets last night, and this is the guy that spent 4 years at Baylor, was actually recruited by Rule during his time at Baylor. And last night, he tweets, "Appreciate Coach Napier and his staff, but I feel it's best for me to put myself back into the transfer portal." Now, that tweet was since deleted. It's been deleted overnight, and as of today, Friday the 24th, Micah Mazuka's name has not been re-entered into the transfer portal, so he's still a Florida Gator. Apparently, they love what they've gotten out of him down there. The strength coach called him a bare-knuckle brawler and the guy in the team that he'd like to have on his side in a street fight. And it seems to me they started their spring practice just a little bit earlier than Nebraska's, and there are reports out there that he was going to slot in pretty immediately to their starting left guard spot, was really dominating everyone through spring football, and now sounds like he may be looking for a new transfer portal spot. And you look at Nebraska, Turner Corcoran's currently slotted in at left guard, and I think a lot of Husker fans, and maybe even the staff as well, might want an upgrade there. Seems to make some sense. The question is, does he actually end up entering his name in the transfer portal, or is he even talked off the ledge by the Florida coaching staff? We don't know.
Well, we'll see. And plenty of spring ball for Corcoran also to settle in. We're here at the Hail Varsity Club. We will talk Creighton ball. Jimmy Motz up next. It's Hail Varsity. We're presented by Currency.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you at Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow today. We're here at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista, and just grab the interstate that direction and get in to your happy place with happy hour till 6 here at the Hail Varsity Club. We're snuck in kind of between Embassy Suites and right next to Cabela's. So great stuff, man. There's a lot of Nebraska folks here that are interested in Husker baseball, but yes, it is going to be all blue in Creighton tonight as the Jays look to keep on marching in March and make their way to the Elite Eight and beyond. We welcome in an amazing talent, homegrown Nebraska standout with Lincoln Northeast, and then helped be part of those Jays NCAA tournament teams in 02 and 05. We welcome in the coach at Norris, Jimmy Motz, joins us here on Hail Varsity Radio. Jimmy, it's good to spend a few minutes with you, man. I know you're on the road, but you got to be smiling about your Jays and their chances tonight. How are you?
It's a big day in Blue Jay Nation, that's for sure. People on the hilltop, I'm sure, are pretty excited. You can almost say it's probably one of the biggest days in program history just because of what's on the line. And it's a pretty exciting time considering everything that's happened this year with this team and how far they've came. And here we are. We're one of 12 still remaining in the tournament.
Jimmy, a thought on where you think this season flipped for Creighton with Coach Mack. We know how it started. We know the up and down middle part, and then this incredible finish. I mean, their game against Baylor was awesome, but in the regular season, what stuck out? A real rugged Big East this year.
Oh, the Big East was good. It's definitely one of the better leagues in the country. I think it speaks volumes to what they've done in the postseason with 3 teams still playing in the tournament. There's not an easy game in the league. I think that's the thing that you have to understand. And you can make that argument for any conference of college basketball, though, because everybody knows everybody really well. But I really felt like when it got, the Maui tournament was good, but then in essence, too, kind of like flipped the script for a while just because they played one home game in 31 days, which was very unusual compared to years past. But I also think, too, it was a challenging schedule. Obviously, the stretch with the Texas loss, Nebraska loss, going to Marquette gets beat, but then coming back Christmas Day and beating DePaul was almost like a must-win at the time. And it got them going again a little bit, and they kind of hit their stride there toward the middle of conference play there because essentially every game from there on out became a big game on the schedule. And the way they finished the season, getting the 20 wins, getting the semifinals of the Big East tournament, but more importantly, you get that. It's all about matchups in March, who you play. And I thought they got a pretty favorable first-round draw with NC State. And then obviously the Baylor game was big for a lot of reasons because they had to get the second weekend, but more importantly, I think 2014 was in the back of people's minds. And so, I mean, you go through a season like this, there's ups and downs, ebbs and flows, but they found a way to finish. They stuck together. I thought Coach Mack did a great job of keeping things together within the program. And here we are, March 24th, and who would have thought we'd be playing Princeton 3-16? I mean, that's what's great about the whole thing.
Yeah, Jimmy, you mentioned Princeton, the opponent. How worrisome is that to you, the Cinderella run? Would you rather have a team that doesn't have that Cinderella magic behind them now that you reach the Sweet 16, or are you confident that Creighton can go and take down Princeton because of just how battle-tested Creighton has been this year when you compare that to Princeton's their schedule and their roster?
I think it's both ways on this thing because obviously the Cinderella, the fan favorites could be Princeton because of the story, 15 seed, and all of that. I get that. But I also think, too, there's something to be said. When you get to the second weekend, you've got your best teams playing. And I think Creighton's been in a lot of big spots this year where they've had to produce in big games and make things happen. So I don't think they're going to get too overwhelmed. You've got a fairly veteran group. Man, you still have 3 sophomore starters. But I think you've got a guy like Carl Freder who can change the game. Baylor's a game changer, just what he can do offensively in terms of scoring it, rebounding it, making plays. And you've got a point guard, Ryan Nebhart, who's really done a great job here in the postseason of commanding things, managing the offense, and having a 30-point game against Baylor. And the shots he was making were big. So it's been somebody different in the postseason. It could be somebody else night tonight, but obviously the storylines that go with it, there's plenty of them. But ultimately, someone's going to get a chance playing their first Elite Eight after tonight.
Creighton standout Jimmy Motz joining us here, Hail Varsity Radio on the road here in Omaha at the Hail Varsity Club. Jay's watch party a little bit later here at the Hail Varsity Club. Happy hour going on. Somebody just sent me a beer. That's incredible. Jimmy, part of 2 tournament teams. It is a good day. 2 tournament teams, 02 and 05, Missouri Valley champs, NCAA tournament teams, strong runs in the NIT. So all 4 years postseason for you, Jimmy. You're a 3-point marksman, and that's going back to your days at Northeast. And what is so appealing, in your opinion? Creighton and Mac keep getting local talent, and they keep getting who they want. Doesn't matter where a kid's located. This system Mac has been super effective. Tell us why you think kids love it so much.
Well, I think Mac's a player's coach. He's been real good to us alums since he's been there. I usually take our teams up there to team camp because the way they treat us so well. They're very hospitable. The coaching staff's very accessible. I got to take my staff up to practice before the season started, and they were really good to us. He's just a down-to-earth guy, but you look at the consistency within the program, and I think that's a lot of it. And I think the way they play, the way they get up and down and try to score points, and it's a lot of the good Nebraska kids have opted to go there. And I think one of the big additions in the, if you want to call it the transfer portal, was getting Shireman last spring. I thought it was a huge pickup just because of his versatility and the fact he was the Summit League Player of the Year. And he was the most sought-after player in the portal, and he decided to come to Omaha. But I think the program recruits itself. It's been very steady. The postseason success speaks for itself in terms of whether it's NCAA appearances, Sweet 16 2 years ago, NIT bids, whatnot. But there's just been a level of consistency across the board. But more importantly, I mean, you look at the coaching staff, a lot of those guys have been there for a while in terms of the program. And Bruce Rasmussen has got a lot to do with that, too, the former AD. So a lot of good things in regards to that. But more importantly, you got a fan base that supports the program that shows up, and there's 18,000 there a night.
Jimmy Motz with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. And Jimmy, there's been some coaching carousel rumors swirling around Creighton and Coach McDermott. What's your take on that? I know the Notre Dame position's now been filled, so I want to get your take, and you laugh. So I'm curious to see what you have to say.
Oh, I go back to when Coach Oltman was there and I was playing, because every year it was, I know the one year Miami was in the mix. I still remember the day that he was rumored to be taking the Illinois job, and he was running individual workouts in our gym. every year he was up for a job, and we just kind of like, well, I mean, if he goes, he goes. But, I mean, there's no substance to it. But Mac's done a great job in terms of, putting his name out there on the national level. I mean, he was at Wayne State, worked his way up to North Dakota State, did a really good job in Northern Iowa. In fact, I played against him. He was the head coach at Northern Iowa. I think he learned a lot from his stint at Iowa State in terms of the do's and don'ts. And it was kind of the perfect storm because the greatest recruiting ploy in all of college basketball history was hiring Coach Mack and getting Doug to come along with him. We get a three-time All-American out of the deal. I just don't see any way, shape, or form that Mack takes a Power 5 job elsewhere because I think it's just too good of a situation in Omaha with what he's got going. You're not fighting football as well, and I think you get those other leagues. A lot of super leagues are starting to evolve, like the ACC, the SEC. You're going to see more conference realignment, where I think the Big East, from a basketball standpoint, is in that conversation as a Power 6 conference. And it's been proven, and Villanova's proven it, you can win national championships in the Big East. And I think he's built the program to a point where it's competing on a national level to play to get to the second weekend to a Final Four. And you take a different job, you're kind of taking a step back and hitting the reset button. So I think he's got too good of a thing going in Omaha where I think he's going to finish out his career in Omaha. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. But I just don't see another Power 5 job or 6 job that's attractive enough to persuade him out of Omaha right now.
Jimmy Motz, Creighton standout with us, Hail Varsity Radio, head coach at Norris now, a state champion at Sterling at the high school ranks, 2 trips to the NCAA tournament for Creighton. Coach Jimmy, just real quick, I got about 2 minutes left. Dana, a warning shot to those Oregon fans. What's next for Dana? What's your reaction to Coach Oltman and maybe some of his frustration there in Nike Town?
I don't think there's going to be any major wholesale changes. I think that was just frustration for a year that maybe the expectation was more. They fought injuries from day one. He was missing 4 guys to start the year, and everything just kind of snowballed. And, he's built that program up to a point where it should be winning the Pac-12, competing in the NCAA tournament. And they've had a couple tough years here just where they've had to battle some injuries with some guys. And they've played a lot of different guys, different combinations, young guys here and there. I don't think there's going to be any wholesale changes at Oregon because what he's done out there in the 13 years he's been there, no other coach has done out there ever in terms of consistency. Plus, you win 20 games a year in college basketball, which he's done out there, you're doing something right. So if you watch the press conference, I watched it. I think a lot of it got taken out of context because of some of the things that were printed. But I think it was a lot of frustration. The fact is, he almost beat Wisconsin without 4 of his best players on the floor. I think people forget that. So therefore, I think it's just a lot of frustration. I think he just had to vent. He got out of his system. But I truly think that he's going to be back. He's going to finish out there, and he'll get it back to where it needs to be. I've got no worries about that. Like I said with Coach Mack, it would surprise me if something happened out there within the next month in terms of a change.
Jimmy, last thought here, about 30 seconds left. I need to know, if Creighton gets it done tonight, will your celebration look anything like it did up at Omaha Ron Colley about a month ago?
Wow. It might be better. I don't know. You got to remember this. We won 3 games at the buzzer to get to the state tournament, so you'd be excited too. And the kid that hit the shot, McCoy Folkerts, was a freshman. Biggest shot he's ever hit. And I hope he's got a few more left in him because we're going to need some of those stretch. But I don't want to win 3 games at the buzzer to get to the state tournament ever again. That's just too much on me.
Jimmy, take care. Best to you. Thanks for some time today talking Creighton.
Hey, real quick, I got my son in the car. He wants to say something real quick.
Do it, bud.
Go Creighton.
There you go.
Go Creighton. There he is. Jimmy Motz with us. Hail Varsity Radio continues here at the Hail Varsity Club, presented by Currency.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow Friday here at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. We are smack dab just off the interstate in Omaha between Embassy Suites and Cabela's. Happy hour till 6. Do you want some Gouda mac and cheese bites? Elijah's saying, yes, I do. Onion rings, fried pickles, mozzarella sticks. So once upon a time, back in August, we did not share any of our food with Rob Zadiska. We were naughty. But Elijah and I ordered the big board.
The Nebraska charcuterie board.
The charcuterie board. I was hesitant to see if I could spit that out accurately or not. I was just going to go with the big board. Right? So it was this monster pretzel. We had some onion petals. And we also had some
fried green beans.
Fried green beans were good. And then the bang bang sauce, right?
Yes.
That is so good. It is legend here. Some folks swear by ranch. No, they judge a place. How gold's the ranch? The bang bang sauce here at the Hail Varsity Club is second to none.
It's worth the price of admission, especially when the price of admission is $0 to get into the Hail Varsity Club.
Get into the Hail Varsity Club. Live music coming up here at 6 when we're done. Creighton tips off at 8. Get your seat, wear your blue, wear your red. If you're going to watch Nebraska baseball, I'm sure they'll have Husker Baseball on. Pride of Fairbury, Bill Doleman, NBC Sports. He is calling Husker Baseball tomorrow on TV. So we will get his take on Nebraska, Illinois. Doleman will no doubt have some unique takes on recruiting weekend. And Brady Oltmans will get you covered here in hour 2 with all the things you need to know, all the players, the names, the stars, and the Raiola impact. What a showcase opportunity for Nebraska football this weekend, but an awesome sports weekend. Sweet 16 could turn into Elite 8 with Creighton tonight as they are in action. So we are excited to be here at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. Happy hour till 6. $8 signature cocktail drinks, premium mules. Those classic cocktails are $6 as well. House wines, $4. Well cocktails as well, $4. And then they've got the rundown beer specials, $2 off cans and bottles. So if you haven't been to Hail Varsity Club, get here. It is incredible. Great setup. There is not a bad TV view. The chef and food is second to none. The bar is absolutely great. I want one of these in my basement. There's too much decorative crap in our basement for me to put a bar up. But if I could, I would put a bar that looks like the Hail Varsity Club, as I'm getting the evil eye from my wife over there. She is here. Junior's allegedly pitching tonight against Papio South for the reserve team. We're going to load up heavy on Papio South tonight.
Now, as we said yesterday, over. Easy.
Take the overs and the runs.
Over. Easy. And what I know.
He knows I love him.
Well, you know what they say about college athletes, Schmitty? You make your biggest jump in college between your freshman and your sophomore year. You learn the ropes your freshman year. By your sophomore year, you get to really commit to the grind, and you make your biggest jump then. And based on game 1 performance from the little guy, might be the true for him over at Lincoln Southwest as well. As the
little guy
good
is
first game.
Taller than I am. Yeah, he did well. So Greg McElroy is out with a bold prediction. Does this rate on your bold scale? Is it as bold as the bang bang sauce here at the Hail Varsity Club? Greg McElroy, ESPN analyst, former Bama quarterback, says Nebraska football in 2023 will go to a bowl game. There. That's the bold prediction.
And I watched this entire segment with Greg McElroy. He's actually become a very fair and balanced college football analyst.
He's got good takes.
If you ever go check his podcast, he's not one of those guys that's going to go make the outlandish takes just to make a Twitter headline and get him some clicks. Not that type of guy. He's fair and balanced. And whenever you listen, he has a full, as part of his spring preview show, I think he did it a little earlier this week, a full 5 to 6 minute long segment about what he thinks about Nebraska and what Matt Rule is bringing in. He dives into the quarterback situation. He really gives a fair, honest evaluation of Nebraska, and that's that you can't necessarily look at the results over the past couple of seasons whenever you look at what Matt Rule is trying to build at Nebraska. He said there's a lot of factors that didn't play in Scott Frost's favor, and that he thinks Matt Rule's a good coach. Matt Rule's made some changes in the offseason, and he thinks that you don't need to throw it out the window, the results of the past couple years, but he says they're not going to factor into what 2023 is going to look like because of how much of a 180 Matt Rhule is trying to do with that football program. And I think that's a very fair, balanced take, and it kind of gets into what we've been talking about on the show this week, Schmitty, and that, you know what, by flipping the expectations, by flipping the mentality within a football team, you can make a lot of strides, and if you combine that with unlocking the talent that you have on your roster, you can make a huge jump in year one, and a jump that a lot of people in national media probably wouldn't expect.
When we talk about unlocking the talent, let's just be real straight. It is all about confidence. You want to get a kid to play at an insanely high level, they've got to believe they can go do it. There can't be any, here we go again, PTSD with, oh, damn, it's a 3-point game with 7 minutes left, or we're tied going into the fourth quarter. I know how this movie is going to go. That has to be absolutely flushed, and the only way you do that is win. Why did Nebraska play better when they made the change last year? You know, Mickey did a marvelous job, and they won some tight ball games. They won some really tight ball games. We were here for the Rutgers game at the Hail Varsity Club, and it was oh no, and then yes, just pure joy. Cool. Now it also helped to have a Trey Palmer, man, to make 2 or 3 game-changing, winning plays, and there's talent on this Nebraska roster, Elijah, and some of it's been here or inherited. And a lot of it, if Nebraska is to go bowling or better next year, is going to be what Nebraska has landed in the portal. When you look at the Georgia imports, when you look at Fleeks and Billy Kemp, those 2 guys in the receiver room are old pros, man. They are really talented. They're good at what they do, but they also show the rest of that room that's super talented, and you've been waiting for the wide receiver room to be unlocked for a long time based on the stars that have been associated, right? You look at some of those guys, and you've had good receiver play. I'm not saying you haven't. I mean, look, Toure was tremendous, but look at a guy like Omar, right? Omar is a guy that when he wanted to could, against Michigan or an Oklahoma, get 2 grabs for 50 yards, 1 being a touchdown, and he was not guardable, right? He had that type of talent, but it wasn't a consistency thing. You've got a guy back in Betts that can light up some defenses. You've got a bunch of tight ends that can really stress a defense. Check out the Gary Barnett clip from yesterday's show on what tight ends can do to a defense. And then now you have that portal addition that can really lead a room, and maybe that's been lacking a little bit too in some of the past years because you've been relying on young guys more times than not in key position areas to not only kill it for 4 quarters but also be that standard setter in a room.
And I might need to get into this a little bit next segment, but when you simply look at it, like Nebraska over 2.5 months last year, at the end of the Georgia Southern game, and you can say the Oklahoma game as well, I know that was Mickey's first game in charge, but that team looked like they weren't going to win another game all year long. By the time you got around to the Iowa game, I know the team didn't finish with 6 wins, but that looked like a bowl team. That's what can be done in 2.5 months. So you have to think about what Matt Rhule can do an entire offseason. Obviously, big changes coming, but the potential is there.
It's Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt, Hail Varsity Club. Roadshow Friday will wind down hour 1. We're presented by Currency.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time. Hour 1 almost in the books. Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow here at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. Get here if you've not tried it out, and if you like it, come on back for some more. As Creighton watch party tonight, live music at 6. And I know a lot of us are traveling for spring baseball, but that summer baseball schedule is also going to bear down. If you're doing tournaments or hosting stuff in Omaha, or even in the fall before your Friday Night Lights, get on down to the Hail Varsity Club here in La Vista between the Embassy Suites and Cabela's. Great happy hour choices, 3 to 6. You are invited out. A lot of blue, a lot of red here. Husker Baseball in action, and really awesome tonight at Haymarket, as Nebraska Baseball will honor the great Darren Erstad, the great Alex Gordon, the great Shane Comine. I interviewed Shane Comine when he got called up to the Oakland A's. And it was the funniest interview ever because he was trying, the parking lot was empty, but he was trying to find the appropriate door to go in. So he's driving around the Oakland A's parking lot. He's like, yeah, I got time for an interview. I don't know what door I'm in, so we can rock this. But Comine was just so awesome.
Insert joke about the finances of the Oakland Athletics not being able to have any sort of parking lot attendant here. There's a joke there to be made somewhere. I don't have the effort or
no, you're fine.
The patience to deal with the angry Oakland A's fans I know that I also know listen to this show every single day. I don't want them texting me, so just insert that joke there, and I'll stay away from it.
You know, once upon a time, the Bash Brothers era, I loved the Oakland A's. Our dear friend Michael Brunt's still a hardcore A's fan. But we'll
God
get
bless
to
his soul.
Yeah, we'll get to this question via email, chris@hailvarsity.com, sent in by Jim. And we'll ask Bill about it. Here's a question. Will our football IQ be better? Will we, being Nebraska, be a smarter team and not do dumb things? How many games last year were lost in the last 5 years, last year and beyond, lost due to stupid plays? You had some bonehead decision-making during the Riley era, and you had some bonehead plays being made by some guys in crunch moments during the Frost era. I think the comfort level in crunch time will be at a higher level because I think they're being stressed right now. They're trying to actively simulate that. I don't know that they didn't do that during the Riley era or the Frost era, but I think it'll be drilled till it gets done right. And they're, again, back to the confidence word. There's some confidence in what you're doing in those moments because you're going to have, I would say, 5 of your league games come down to one drive, one score, one stop, one first down. And if you live out that benchmark of 75 rushing yards and you own the time of possession, you play some gopher ball, for lack of a better term, it can work out. Hail Varsity is on the road here at the Hail Varsity Club. In La Vista, you're invited out. Happy hour till 6. Hail Varsity Radio, we're presented by Currency for all your equipment financing needs. Go Currency. So Bill Doleman is in the green room about 15 minutes away. Brady Oltmans will run down all the recruiting you want to know with 27-plus visitors and so many 4- and 5-star prospects here to check out Nebraska and Coach Rule this weekend. Hail Varsity continues hour 2 here at the Hail Varsity Club.
The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Back with you, it's hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio. We're live at the Hail Varsity Club. We're presented by Currency. We are tucked in here between Embassy Suites and Cabela's, the pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports. The man on TV tomorrow for Nebraska and Illinois is Bill Doleman, at Bill Doleman on Twitter. He had survived his Florida spring break experience. I don't see any rashes. I'm proud. And it looks like he's either pulled over or at the DMV waiting. Billy D, good to see you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm driving as usual, and we got some whacked audio going on, but we'll try to power our way through this.
Let me see what I can do for you.
Makes me sad, Bill.
Is that any better? The audio you're getting now?
Bill threw his phone out the window. Kind of like that Sopranos scene where Chrissy gets carjacked and they take off in his Range Rover. So we will try and reconnect with Bill Doleman, the pride of Fairbury. There, do we have you back, Bill? You're not frozen Han Solo style on camera?
The audio's bad.
Okay, we'll get you on the phone then, and we'll make the best of it.
That's going to make many folks here at the Hail Varsity Club cry because they want live Bill Doleman video all the time. So we'll effort Bill Doleman, the pride of Fairbury. We'll talk some spring football with him, get his take on the Sweet 16. Husker Baseball in action. The Sweet 16 gets rocking here in about 30 minutes or so with Houston. They get underway. Creighton tonight against the Smart Kids from Princeton. 9.5-point line for the Jays. I may have to talk Mama into going across the river before we get the juniors baseball game, and just put a futures bet down on the Jays. Good stuff from Jimmy Motz earlier. Brady Oltmans on recruiting when we come back. Next segment, we have Bill Doleman. Now, Bill, you're back with us. Thanks for working through. How are you?
Yeah, I'm going to go old school and go on the phone. I'm doing well. I just I called our buddy Tony George, and I got some ducats down or some money down on the Papio Southwest JV baseball game tonight. I got some inside information on it.
Well, good for Tony. Still continuing on the tradition of sophomore baseball betting. It's wonderful. Spring football, Bill, I want to get your take, and this came into the email box from Jim. We'll get your thoughts on recruiting in a moment because I know that's on your radar too. But football IQ, how bad do you think Nebraska's football IQ has been the last 10 years? Will it matter under Matt Rule, as in will it be better? Will Nebraska still lose games because of their football IQ?
I'm not exactly sure that's fair. I think it's more work ethic Q than IQ. You know, anybody who's getting to that level in the coaching profession, you know, has to have gotten there with some bit of skill and intelligence in terms of moving around the X's and the O's. But it's everything else that goes on between whenever practice is 1 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And Matt Rule has kind of proven, and, you know, and other coaches in Nebraska have done it in the past, it's a 25-hour-a-day, 8-day-a-week job. And, you know, how much are you willing to put into it? And what about the people that you hire to bring in to work with you? And I think clearly by what we have heard over the last, 3 months, those people who have come in to work for Matt Rule and with the other people on the staff, they all believe in what the mission is, and they're all willing to move forward and do that. I don't think people are joining Matt Rule and his staff because I'm not sure if he's a very smart guy. That's not the case. I think I want to join Matt Rule and his staff at Nebraska because I don't think they're going to work hard. I don't think that's necessarily the case. You can't do what he did at Temple. You can't do what he did at Baylor. Yeah, things did not work out in the NFL, but that's an entirely different game. Guess what? It didn't work out all that well in the NFL for Nick Saban, and he's rebounded okay. So I'm not sure it's necessarily fair to say that Nebraska hasn't had a great football IQ. I just don't think that the work that is needed to go into it has probably been there. And as a result, yeah, maybe things don't look so good on the field when it counts the most. But I'm not sure that that's necessarily fair.
And Bill, this might be too much of a long-term question here, but I want to get your take on how long of a leash Matt Rule is going to have. Old habits die hard, and I think the issues with fourth quarter problems, turnovers, penalties, all that could be hard habits to break within this football team, and it's going to take time. Might even take new players getting here, like the recruits that are going to be in town this weekend. So how long of a leash do you think Matt Rule has before Husker fans are going to start getting impatient if it's still the same old problems?
Well, I'm not sure if it's necessarily that, you know, how long is the leash? Nebraska people want it now, but how long can a turnaround, you know, take? Do you want to ask me or do you want to ask Jerome Tang? Right? The Kansas State head basketball coach took over a program that was completely downtrodden, right? And has turned it around and is on the verge of going to the Final Four. Basketball is different than football. I get that. But I think we all believe that there are some, you know, decent football players in the program right now, right? They finished last year fairly strong. They've proven that they're hungry. You know, those players, it's a new staff. But I think, the new staff, the new energy, and everything that they've done, those players in the room, they know what – I mean, people outside are sensing that there's something different. It's fresh. It's energetic. These guys seem to want to work, and they want to work for Nebraska, right? They've done a great job of putting themselves into the culture of this state. So I think people have high expectations, and justifiably so. But I also think the players in the room are sensing, you know what, it's different right now. And I can't put my best foot forward, and I do want to. And it's going to be competitive. I'm going to be challenged, and I want to be better, and I want to be a part of what's better at Nebraska. So I'm not sure it's necessarily a leash. I would think Matt Rule wants to come in here and win now, right, whether he's got one or not.
Bill Doleman with us, Hail Varsity Radio Road Show here at the Hail Varsity Club. Live music follows us, then the Jays watch party as it's Creighton, Princeton, around 8 o'clock tonight on TBS. Great venue to get cocktail, happy hour still till 6, apps as well. Get a burger, get some chicken, or whatever your fancy is. Hail Varsity Club here in La Vista. Good spot for you. Bill, when we talk Nebraska and recruiting, we've spent a lot of time on Raiola, but you have a number of high-targeted kids by the Bamas, by the Clemsons, by the SCs, by the LSUs of the world. I mean, the who's who, the peer recruiting circle is real nice. And we're talking a boatload of them here today and through the weekend. Bill, a thought on just Raiola, whether he signs or not with Nebraska, at least helping get some of these kids on campus because they want to be here this weekend with him to see what Rule and company's all about.
Yeah, I think he has paid some dividends for Nebraska to this point just by his interest, whether it is, a cursory interest because his uncle is here, his dad played here, he likes it here. He probably wore, a number 54 jersey when he was running around the backyard, wherever that might have been. So I think Dylan Raiola's interest in Nebraska is genuine. And I think that those players that have come here this weekend sense that and that they are willing to come in here and take a look. Going back to Elijah's previous question, here's my fear. Let's say nobody who's here this weekend ends up signing with Nebraska. Nobody. Not the 45 5-star guys, not the 72 4-star guys, and none of these 6,900 3, 2, and 1s, okay? Are people going to say, well, Matt Rule can't get it done, right?
No.
This is my fear with the buildup of this weekend, that maybe none of these guys ends up feeling passionate about Nebraska, and none of them want to come here to play. Or the only ones that they get are some 3s and, some glorified 3-star guys. Are people going to go, well, this is ridiculous. Matt Rule can't recruit. His staff can't recruit. That's the problem with the buildup of a weekend like this. Yes, it's great that there's this national interest with recruits who are being courted by other major schools. It does say a lot about Rule and his work and his staff. It does say a lot about the talent that they're going after. But if people are disappointed by what happens on a weekend in March, and it just completely blows out the perception of Nebraska football going into April, May, June, July, August, then I think people have lost sight of what, college football is really all about, and that's the fall. And that's putting way, way too much emphasis on the decision-making process of these 17, 18-year-old kids. You've got a guy in Florida who just left, Baylor to go to Florida, and now he wants to leave again?
Maybe, allegedly, maybe.
Right. But the whims of these young men, you just don't know, and you can't live and die on a success of a program based on what happens in one weekend. I would bet Nebraska probably gets maybe 6 or 10 of the kids who are here. I really believe that it could be a very, very profitable weekend, but I just hope people don't lose perspective on Matt Rule's job as a football coach based on what happens over the next 72 hours.
Bill, I think you're right, but I also think Matt Rule's going to win with or without. It's just how quick and how much do you win in this 3-year window of his first few years. I think you get high-level talent and you develop that talent. Wow, it can be a really cool thing. I mean, Saban did it. Julio Jones is the example that I point to, and then you get a domino effect of other big-time dudes that performed well. I think it can expedite things, but in all honesty, I think Rule, the way he's going to develop, will get things done to a satisfactory level in the Big Ten. I got to go over to baseball. Monster weekend for Nebraska. You're going to be on the call for it. Tell folks about that for tomorrow. But overall, Nebraska's been reeling a bit. It's a celebratory weekend with Alex and Shane Comine and of course, Darren Erstad having their jerseys retired tonight. But you've been checking in on Husker Baseball. What do you think of their chances and quite honestly, the threat level of not having a good weekend here with Nebraska into the Big Ten?
Well, what happened earlier in the week at Creighton it was devastating for Nebraska, no question about it. But, I talked to Will Bolt earlier in the week, and he's very even keel like most baseball coaches and managers are. Look, Nebraska's got Friday, Saturday starters at Olsen and Kaminska that may be the best 1-2 in the Big Ten, right? So they can win series just by those two guys alone. And Kaminska right now is pitching as well as anybody in the country, hasn't given up an earned run in 18-plus innings. And they've got a guy on the mound tomorrow afternoon that'll be facing off against him. We'll have him in our game. I believe his name is Garcia. He's 0-2 on the year with a 5-plus, or beg your pardon, Sanchez, with an 8-plus ERA. So going against one of the top hitting teams, a team that's on a mission, I really think Nebraska, based on their pitching and their hitting and their mindset after the other night, can go 2-0 Friday, Saturday. The big question for Nebraska this weekend and every weekend is what's going to happen on Sunday and who can they put on the hill to give them 4 to 6 good innings on Sunday and then try to get a bullpen put together that can close out games for them. But I really think the key to this weekend for the Nebraska baseball team is Omar Hales, without a doubt. That's right, the Nebraska assistant football coach or the director of player personnel. He tweeted out the other day, we need Husker Nation to show up at Buck Belcher, at Haymarket Park en masse because all those recruits are going to be here. That tweet has been seen by 331,000 people. All right? So the call has been put out to Husker fans everywhere. You got to be at the baseball game tonight. I don't know what Charlie Meyer's going to do about extra seating, but there could be hundreds of thousands of people here because those recruits are going to be here. That ought to help the baseball team.
It should be noted, as I look at the seating map for buying tickets on Huskers.com, the entire, aside from a little corner, the reserve seating behind home plate, it's all sold out. You can get berm seats right now, it seems like, and that's about it. So Husker Nation,
the crowd's going to be so big that there's going to play a volleyball match here tonight.
That's money.
That's good.
Bill,
like that.
Sweet 16 tonight. Any upsets? What do you think of Creighton? We got about 90 seconds, bud. Does Bama move on? What's your take here going into a potential Elite Eight weekend? Did we lose him? The Pride of Fairbury is just not into the Sweet 16. That makes me sad.
Yeah, there goes Bill. So
yeah. Well, he was going to say, go Big Red, and I think he was going to pick Creighton. Fair?
Probably fair, yeah. Yeah, probably
fair.
fair.
Are we doing a steak and a beer bet? Is this going to happen?
On the Creighton game tonight?
Yeah, well, do we want to leave that off the side, or do we want to rock and roll with it?
We could do steak and a beer bet. It's tough now that the first round of Sweet 16 games. Maybe this will be tomorrow morning. You, me, and Cranack. Maybe we can each pick our final 4 teams among the 8 left. Whoever has the highest percentage wins the steak and a beer bet, and then we can get Cranack involved in the action as well.
Yeah,
that might be the way to go.
Edition tomorrow, 7:30, streamed for you on the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Everyone's invited out here to the Hail Varsity Club. We're here till 6 and beyond. Juniors playing ball over at Papio South, but Creighton is tipping off, more to your concern. At 8 tonight, live music follows us. We are going to hit recruiting next. Brady Oltmans will join us. Do we want to try and run the Pride of Fairbury down at 5:40? We can arm wrestle about it. And Elijah's like, no.
You make the big bucks. I'll let you make the call.
We're here at the Hail Varsity Club, presented by Currency.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it. It's Hail Varsity Radio on the road today at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. And still time to get down, get your seat. Just pretend you're boxing out in the paint and get in here for Creighton tonight as they are trying to advance past those smart kids from Princeton in the Sweet 16. Another smart, we'll say dude, not kid, Brady Oltmans with us from HailVarsity.com and magazine. He is all over your recruiting needs and updates all weekend long. A banner weekend for Nebraska football. With Brady, what's the head count, the unofficial head count with visitors this weekend? I have the stars breakdown, but the total number is, we'll just say a lot. Fair?
Yeah. I think the last official head count that we had was somewhere around 26, I believe. But then, as is the norm with this coaching staff, they say, hey, do you want to come in and then
come on down?
So I at this point, as a Friday afternoon, it's above 30 by my count.
Sure. Well, listen, a lot is made of Dylan Raiola's return trip, but the narrative, Brady, is not just about Dylan, but that Dylan effect. Guys want to gauge his take on Nebraska. It's an opportunity for Nebraska not only with Raiola, but also the slew of high-level talent that Nebraska's had before and they've brought in before over the years. They've also developed a lot of guys into top-tier talent. But this is the first time since, I think you got to go back to that vaunted 05 Callahan class where you have so much star power.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of sheer numbers of stars here, this might be, I think, for my money, and I'm comfortable saying, the most important or biggest star-studded recruiting weekend in the history of Nebraska football. I don't think that they've ever had a class of visitors this, deep in talent ever before in the program. And I think you're right. I think we've talked about this, Elijah. I think you were there when we kind of talked about it before. It's Raiola he opens eyes. He opens national conversation around your program. And he's actually, to his credit, he's done a lot of open peer recruiting and saying hey, I like Nebraska. Do you like Nebraska? I saw they offered you, you should check it out kind of thing. And it's one of those things where you get the top, recruit in the country. Guys want to play with talent, and he gets there. And I don't think that there's going to be any case of a kid that says, oh, Dylan committed there, I'm going to go there. They're not resting solely on his commitment, but if it's good enough for him, they think maybe it's good enough for me. And then they see it, they get the same treatment. They get, their arms wrapped around them by the coaching staff and current Huskers. And they think, maybe I need to think more about Nebraska. And then I think it gets into the point for this visit specifically. They enjoy it so much, they think about it, and then they come back for the spring game. And if they do that, then I think as the coaching staff can just put their hands off the wheel, because that's about all you can do. And if they're ready to come back for the spring game, you like your chances at that point.
So, Brady, I think you just kind of answered one of the topics that Schmidt and I have hit a decent amount this week in a roundabout way, in that I've been asking the question, does Dylan Raiola have to be a commit eventually for this weekend to be a success? And you're saying, no, you don't think so?
I don't think so. I would expect maybe some commitments, in the 3 to 4 days following the weekend. But I would be surprised if Dylan commits, just because he seems like a kid that's going to check all the boxes and take all the visits. And he is scheduled to visit Oregon after the week after Nebraska spring game. It sounds like he's going to visit Nebraska spring game now as well. So I don't think that you need to get Dylan. That's not I guess in a way that is the top objective and top priority, because he is the number one guy in the class. But I don't think it's the realistic goal of it's, make or break. If that's your goal this weekend, you can get a whole lot done without getting him to commit.
Brady Oltmans with us, Hail Varsity staff man, HailVarsity.com and magazine, at Brady Oltmans on Twitter. So let's spend a minute here on how this staff will use their time, build the relationships, reaffirm some of the relationships. They've done a marvelous job in short order. They are going to do what? What will these potential Huskers see this weekend from the staff? What will they see from the team?
Well, a lot of on-campus visiting and a lot of on-campus sightseeing. They're taking them on Gators. It's the coaching staff's hope to get them to meet people all over the place. They want to open up and create the family environment right away. So they're going to go to different departments. They're going to go to different places. They want to show them around campus. They want to show them to the athletic facility staff, meet everybody. They want to even kind of knock down any sort of barriers between the football program and other sports. Like they will be, just shortly at the baseball game. And that's obviously a big night for the baseball team. Not only do they want to pack the house, and they probably will, if only because word gets out for the recruits, but it's also a big day for their retiring some jerseys from former Huskers, which, Shane Comine, Alex Gordon, and the like, they carry a whole lot of weight behind them. And Husker fans, they love and appreciate them. And if they get a chance to impress a whole lot of 5-star recruits or 4-star recruits coming in, they might cheer a little bit harder. They're going to be here. Most of them will be here on Saturday for part of the practice. That's closed to media for obvious reasons. Now that you can imagine it, they want to get the idea because Rule is very open and transparent. If they don't like the way that he sets up practice, no power, no shame, carry on. But if a kid can see how they practice and say, I think they can develop me here, that means a lot to him, because then that's the dirty work. And if they can handle the dirty work, then they feel pretty good about it. And I think they'll probably just show them around a little bit more on Saturday before it's all said and done.
Brady Oltmans is with us here talking a huge recruiting weekend for Nebraska, Hail Varsity Radio. And Brady, whenever you look at this huge list of visitors, so many names to go through, but can you give me your power rankings of some of the most important guys that are going to be in town this weekend, at least in your eyes? Maybe not the guys that are the highest stars, but in terms of guys Nebraska really needs to make a good impression on, who do you think are those most important guys this weekend?
Well, you like Brandon Baker. I mean, you'd like a good offensive lineman and one of the best offensive linemen in the country. I think he means a lot. For the same way, Andrew Sprague means a lot, but they're also different. Brandon comes from Mater Dei in California. Sprague is from Rockhurst in Kansas City. So you're looking at two different geographies. Me personally, he's also the other 5-star, but Williams Nwaneri from Lee Summit North. He's realistically, he looks like a tight end, but he's 6'5", 200, almost 300 some pounds, and he looks like a tight end. I mean, he's a freakish defensive lineman athlete who can bull rush and move laterally like you haven't seen before. And then I think you kind of get into like your skill position guys, your Peyton Lewis's from Salem, Virginia. You get your Ryan Wingos in there, Bryant Wesco, guys that are the speedy skill position guys who could contribute, maybe not right away, but with enough exposure to the program where their incubation period for impact at Nebraska is less so than some others.
That's the question here with Nebraska. Where are they at roster-wise with early playing time? We just don't know. We'll see how year one goes, who's young or who's an older guy. There's a lot of older guys in the program, but they've been around a while, so there could be some opportunity for early playing time. The key, though, Brady, and you know this, same with you, Elijah, is the positions do matter with early playing time. It's not that common to have early playing time on the lines of scrimmage. You can, but are you ready? Versus some of the skill spots, and the skill spots are super appealing. They're Hollywood, they're flash, they're playmaking, but man, it's the meat and potatoes, the lines of scrimmage guys, and Nebraska's done a great job of bringing in some of those lines of scrimmage guys, not just nationally, but also from that 500-mile radius. Do you agree?
Yeah, and I think that it's clearly a point of emphasis. I mean, they got a whole lot of linemen in that short stretch for the 2023 recruiting class, and I think that those guys might take a year or two to develop. It's clearly a point of emphasis that they're looking at now. I think it goes back to something that, kind of Rule said was, even just this last week during spring ball, is that they kind of blur the lines between positions a little bit, generally speaking. If you're a linebacker, you got to learn to play a little bit of rover, know defensive back tendencies, and you got to be able to step up to the line. If you're a tight end, you got to be able to run block, pass block, go run routes. So you got to be able to learn, your slot and step back in the backfield too. So you really need dynamic athletes, and overall that's what they're looking for. But they also are smart enough to know that their bread is going to be buttered than the line of scrimmage in Nebraska, come Big Ten play. So that's really what they're focusing on for the now and for the future.
Brady, real quick, the combination, and Searles hit on this yesterday, of the early playing time, of the fan base, and NIL. I mean, is that a pretty hard triple threat for programs that are winning at a higher level to beat, coupling that with Rule and his ability and staff to connect with kids?
Well, I don't think anything is going to be too much for this staff to overcome just based upon knowing them and their history and how they treat people if they are open and transparent with kids. Some kids aren't going to want to sit down and develop for a couple of years. Some want to play right away. And if there's no real chance of them doing that or breaking through the roster, then, you kind of tip your cap and say, we'll help you, best of luck on your future endeavors. We'll always kind of be here. Nebraska, if NIL is an issue, that Nebraska offers, a pretty competitive NIL package if you are spectacular here and you play on the football team. But as Rule has said, we don't want kids who are going to ask about NIL within their first 10 minutes on campus kind of thing. Like, that's not the kind of guys that they're looking for, So and then like Dylan's in a special situation because Nebraska's quarterback room next fall is going to be kind of interesting. I mean, Jeff Sims is very promising, but it's a competition and everything is wide open. This coaching staff loves it. They like that this Huskers, roster is full of competition. So any kid worth their salt can come in and compete for a spot. I just don't think it's going to be promised. And to be honest with you, the implications I get from the Rule staff is they don't like kids who want it to be, thrusted upon them, or they don't want to walk in expecting a roster spot.
Brady, I think last thought before we get you out here, I need to ask if you've been following the saga of Micah Mazuka down at Florida. Yesterday, re-enters his name into the transfer portal and then overnight deletes a tweet. Seems like he's back with the Gators. Now, this is a guy Nebraska was among the final 3 of transfer portal destinations. Is there something there, something to follow if you're a Husker fan?
I definitely think it's something to keep your eye on if you're a Husker fan. I think it maybe more than anything, it just kind of is a testament to the situation that Florida's got going on there. I mean, you had the Jaden Rashada recruiting saga, and I like Billy Napier, and it seems like he's got to get that ship steady. But there's a whole lot of football politicking to be done behind the scenes of a major SEC program like that, and I think this might be one of those instances where it's like a kid just kind of gets lost in the shuffle of all of that. So if you're a Husker fan, it might be something to keep an eye on, but it might also just be something of where, he's uncomfy one week. Maybe, they kind of even hash all that stuff out.
All the updates, recruiting weekend for Nebraska, star-studded. In fact, at Brady Oltmans, give him a follow and find him with HailVarsity.com and magazine. Brady, get a beer and a dog and enjoy the weekend. Thanks for a few minutes.
Yeah, always appreciate you guys.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Big thanks to Brady Oltmans with us, Hail Varsity Radio, road show here at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. As we've hit so much recruiting today, Husker Baseball on our mind, Sweet 16. And also just the spring football setup coming up here in about 10 minutes. Great live act here at Hail Varsity. Kaylyn Sahs, she'll jump on with us here and tell us about her music, and she is here. And then you have Creighton tipping off tonight. 8 o'clock as Creighton basketball trying to keep on marching. Do we still have the Pride of Fairbury? Is he back in with another quarter in the machine? Bill Doleman back with us. Bill, I don't know what happened there, if Elijah spilled a drink on the phone system, or if it's operator error on my end, but we got our football and recruiting talk in. You're also doing Husker Baseball tomorrow against Illinois. You've covered and called a lot of high-level basketball in your career. You've done NCAA tournament games. You've done conference tournament games. What's your take on the Sweet 16 tonight? I know Houston's tipped off already. Creighton and Princeton. Are you cheering for the Tigers or are you cheering for the Jays? Let me put you on the spot.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry for what I said, and I accept my suspension for the one segment. It won't happen again. And to follow up on what I said, there are literally 330,000 people at Haymarket Park. So most have answered the call from Omar Hales to show up tonight. But to the Sweet 16, look, I like Creighton's program. I like the McDermotts. He's a great story, great coach. I'm not a big fan of the J-Skers, okay? Pick a lane. We don't need that in this state. Either you love them or you hate them, but none of the J-Sker stuff. So that's what I got a problem with. I think, look, Princeton's going to provide a problem for anybody. They always do whenever they've got enough talent to pull off a win or two in the NCAA tournament. The thing that goes against Princeton in this game is they're playing a team that's disciplined and well coached. You know, that stuff that Princeton does with its offense and the whole tradition and all that stuff. When you have a team that wants to get out, run, and gun and do all those kinds of things, and they get caught up in that web, they can't get out of it. Creighton's disciplined enough, shoots the ball well enough, that they're going to pose a problem for Princeton. So I really, of all the great games we've seen in the Sweet 16, I guess last night, I would be surprised if Creighton loses to Princeton.
The line is 9.5 Jays. What great theater last night with K-State and Sparty. Junior and Mama broke many glass objects when they got home, with Michigan State falling in overtime. I have had K-State in the Final Four, so I got sent to the couch, is what it is. You had Gonzaga, UCLA, great ball game last night. Texas, Xavier is going to be the nightcap. Texas -4 there. Houston, Miami could be interesting. Houston looks like Houston needs to look. At least they did in the second half of their last ball game. Bama right now in a fight with San Diego State. San Diego State's done the Mountain West proud this tournament, Bill.
I think San Diego State is really good. They're like Florida Atlantic on the other side of the bracket. Not a big name, but they've got talent. And with all that's been going on with Alabama, as great as they are, sometimes that all catches up to you, and you might have it physically, but mentally you're just drained from everything. I mean, Oaks is having to answer press conference questions about armed security for his team. You just don't want to have that in an NCAA tournament. And eventually I think it's going to catch up to them. San Diego State is really good. I think they're, in fact, better than Florida Atlantic. They could win that game. Houston, they didn't start this tournament very well at all. I think Miami was one of those teams that's rolling with some really good momentum, along with really good talent. I'd be surprised if Houston wins that game tonight. But when they got it going on, they're 33-30 for a reason. That's a good basketball team with, I believe, the best coach in the country. Kelvin Sampson has had my utmost respect for a long, long time, regardless of how much gray he reads into the rule book, right? And Texas and Xavier, it kind of sickens me that Sean Miller is where he is in the NCAA tournament, given all that transpired with FBI investigations at Arizona, and here he is back again. Redemption, whatever. But I think Texas is a really good story with Rodney Terry. I think Texas should have probably said he's our guy a long time ago. But that should be a really good game tonight with Texas and Xavier and San Diego State and Alabama.
Quickly, Bill, let's get your thoughts on Gonzaga. Hunter Salas last night, a huge second-half performance. Didn't get on the scorer's book in the second half, but he did play 15 of the 20 second-half minutes and some big defensive minutes, not to mention a big assist in crunch time. What'd you make of Hunter Salas' performance, and what do you make of the Zags this year? Do you think they could make a serious run at the national title this year?
I don't. I think they're really good, and Timmy's fun to watch, and good Lord, he is fun to listen to, and he's got a future on Barstool Sports when he's done playing basketball. He's the Pat McAfee of basketball players, and he's got the language to prove it. It was nice to see the Omaha kid Salas play. I'd kind of forgotten about him, and I'd watched him in the tournament, and he's just kind of a role player for him, but he did play a big role last night. and played in some key moments, big moments, and maybe this is a jump start for his career. And maybe I haven't watched him enough, but I always kind of wondered whatever happened to that guy, and finally there he was and getting a lot of notoriety. I hope he does well. I just don't think Gonzaga's got that magical run in him like they've had before. I think they're kind of playing with house money a little bit, and I think that run is going to come to an end. It's probably a disappointing one.
Bill Doleman with us, NBC Sports. Pride of Fairbury on the call tomorrow. Nebraska-Illinois Game 2. Bill, just to reiterate, folks can watch you and see you where tomorrow with your coverage of Big Red Illini baseball with the Big Ten.
Well, the good folks at Nebraska Public Media are putting me back on the mic again, and of course they'll have the coverage for Big Ten Plus. So it'll be covered well because that's such a great crew, and it's nice to be back with them where I began my career just a few short decades ago.
Short decades for sure. Bill Doleman with us. Bill, we will make sure it's wings and beer time Sunday. Put that in your phone. All right?
Definitely.
All right, appreciate you, Bill. Thanks for jumping back on, man.
All right, go Big Red.
There he is, Pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports. Bill Doleman on the call with Nebraska Public Media tomorrow. You can catch Nebraska and the Illini. We are winding down a road show here at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. We are stuck right between Embassy Suites and the Cabela's outpost here. Elijah's back in studio, kind enough to hang back there. Junior has baseball for Southwest. We've got awesome Southwest parents that have shown up to check out the show and check out the Hail Varsity Club before the reserve baseball game. My wife right now is yelling at a server. I'm kidding. I'm absolutely kidding. But Elijah, you don't like the jokes at her? I do that to see if she's paying attention or not.
Well,
you don't ever want to yell at servers.
No, that's the thing. Like joking about like the toy bunny, that's fine. Like the hardworking servers that make the Hail Varsity Club run,
they're awesome. No, she's not doing that. I'm kidding. And they have permission to trank dart. Absolutely. Incredible performer coming up. We will check in with Kaylyn Sahs. She's performing here at the Hail Varsity Club next.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for hanging out. Hail Varsity winding down here. Hail Varsity Club. We're presented by Currency and live music here at the Hail Varsity Club. Kaylyn Sahs joining us here. Can stream the show at on the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Kaylyn, it's awesome to see you. Excited that you're going to be on the Hail Varsity stage with live music, and then, of course, Creighton ball later tonight. Tell us about yourself, your career, and what folks can hear from you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. So I am a country singer-songwriter from Bellevue, Nebraska.
Awesome.
Yeah.
and some fans here.
Yes.
So tell me about influences, who you love in the world of country music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I grew up listening to all kinds of music, but country just became one of my favorites. And Keith Urban is a favorite, Carrie Underwood, just the big...
The who's who, which is fine.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And tell us a little bit about how you got started, aside from loving the genre.
Yeah, so I've been singing my whole life, and I started singing on stage when I was 5. And then after that, I just started singing in school. And when I was a senior in high school, I decided to start pursuing this career. And I had no idea what I was doing. But it's been about 7 years now, and it's been a wild ride, but it's been awesome.
That's so good. Kaylyn, if folks want to obviously get to Hail Varsity Club so they can hear you, but if folks want to find out more, find your music, more about you, tell us where folks can go website-wise and how they can check your music out.
Yeah, you can go to www.kaylynsahs.com. And I think there's a banner behind me, but it's KAYLYNSAHS.com.
You're going to be performing to the right of where we're set up. The banner is in full display there, but be sure to check out Kaylyn. Get to Hail Varsity Club for her performance tonight. Of course, Creighton basketball. Elijah, we got to sneak in our steak and a beer bet. minus 9.5. Creighton favored over Princeton tonight.
All right.
Are you leading Creighton or Princeton?
Definitely Creighton.
Okay. We can even ask Kaylyn if she wants to get in on the steak and the beer bet, right? She's like, leave me alone, old guy. So what are you doing here? Are you taking the points or are you laying the points?
9.5. Creighton's covering that all day. I've got Creighton winning this game by about 15 tonight. I know we had someone in the chat. It was Wade say Jays win by 5. I think that's way too skinny. I think the Cinderella magic runs out for Princeton. I think Creighton gets a big win. They're on to the Elite 8.
Okay. That is good. Original work, cover work, what are some of the songs you'll do tonight?
Yes, so I'm doing some original music and then some country songs. Keith Urban, Shania Twain, I think Garth Brooks, stuff like that. Yeah. That'll
be great. Well, Kaylyn Sahs is performing here at the Hail Varsity Club at 6. Creighton and Princeton tip-off. We're here in La Vista. You're invited out here for the show at the Hail Varsity Club, and we're just snuck in here between the Embassy Suites and right next to your friends at Cabela's. Kaylyn, hey, awesome to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming by. Be sure to check out Kaylyn Sahs, her music and all what she's all about. Incredible country artist, and she's live here at the Hail Varsity Club. Nice of her to join us.
Where are you going tonight? Are you going Creighton minus 9.5? What are you taking?
I am going to take Princeton in the points.
Okay.
Just so we can do that old 96er bet. Download the show, Hail Varsity Radio, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. Get the podcast. Back tomorrow, weekend edition at 7:30 with Hail Varsity, presented by Currency. Thanks for tuning in.